Wonders are epic projects with game-changing effects. However, much like my allies when we have a defensive pact and Montezuma comes knockin', sometimes supposedly powerful things can be quite useless. Understanding what is bad in a game can be just as important for improving, and for my sanity, as knowing what is good. So today, we'll talk about bad wonders. Now, to do my analysis today, I'm using a very precise set of objective criteria. First of all, does it have bad vibes? That's everything. Number 7 on our list is Angkor Wat. Now, you might be asking, Angkor, what game in the franchise are you talking about? So I should be clear. Some people say that in Civ 5 there are no circumstances under which you should build Angkor Wat. And that is not true. It can be quite useful in cases where 20 different city-states are asking you to build it. Otherwise, it's dog shit. By this phase of the game, there are very few particular tiles that you need in a hurry, and the couple that you do need, you can just buy. Doubly so, because unmodded Civ 5 is all about growing tall. You're not going to be planting a ton of new cities. But this wonder is, in fact, trash in the other two games as well. In Civ 4, it gives a modest buff to what is probably the worst specialist, and nothing else. And in Civ 6, just one of these numbers needs to be multiplied by 2. Not that one. Not that one either, actually. Now that we're on the subject, this one can really screw up your amenities if it puts population where you don't want it to be. I also just never build aqueducts, so take from that what you will. Anyway, let's go to number 6. That will be the Hermitage from Civilization 6. This one has the double whammy of costing a shit ton of shields and not doing enough. Look at this. It just looks like I edited the entry for a visual gag. Compare it to the Bolshoi Theater. Okay, it gives great people points, and it has some great work slots. There we go. That's the magnitude of effect we're missing from the Hermitage. It's just missing the line of text where it actually does something. Now, with Pingala, it can be beneficial to start concentrating culture and tourism in one city, using the multipliers to race towards a culture victory, but governors were introduced with the expansions. There was a full year and a half where this thing was just strictly inferior to building more cities and putting more cultural districts in them. These districts will eventually produce slots for great works of art, which can give a theming bonus, while, unless I'm mistaken, you can't get theming bonuses from the Hermitage unless you're playing as Christina. This wonder is just asleep at the wheel. Entry number 5 on our list is Universal Suffrage from Civilization 3. Now, we're really getting into the wonders that really do nothing here. This one has an effect that is microscopic, homeopathic in its ability to improve your civilization. Many wonders were copy and pasted between the first 3 Civ games, but Civ 3 had bigger changes to the mechanical systems that wildly changed the impacts of the wonders that are otherwise identical to Civ 1 and 2. The outcome here is that Civ 1 and 2 are feminist icons, and Civ 3 is the incel game. No, not you guys, don't worry. In Civ 1 and 2, this wonder eliminates war weariness if you are in Republic, and cuts it in half if you are in Democracy. In Civ 3, oh boy. First of all, you have to be in a government that has war weariness. Okay, Republic is good. Then you actually have to be at war. In Civ 1 and 2, you get war weariness anytime you take units out of a city. Not in Civ 3. Then, you have to accumulate war weariness points, which takes some time, especially if you're the defender in the war. If all of these things are true, then the effect is 1 happy face per city. For context, the highest level of war weariness gives you unhappy faces equal to the population of your city. You could easily have 5, 10, 20 unhappy faces in each city. This wonder will remove 1. I generally left out most of the late game wonders from this list because their cost and effect are mostly irrelevant when the game is basically over either way. This one comes a little late. You can't really screw up your game by pursuing this, but God almighty, were they ever trying to cheat you when they made this thing. Number 4 is the Statue of Zeus. What's worse than a war weariness wonder with a minuscule effect? A war weariness wonder with no effect. Much like Prometheus, The developers of Civ 4 noticed that in Civ 3, Zeus had some absolute fire, and they decided to take it away. This increases war weariness of rival civs who you are at war with by 100%. But there was a tragic piece of news that I read about in today's paper. Screwing over one neighbor's economy for 10 turns doesn't help you win the game. This is not a 1v1. Weakening yourself to weaken one other player just makes you both worse off. You do get double production towards this with Ivory, which isn't very common, and if you have Ivory, you probably have better things to do. Worse yet is that the AI gets built-in reductions to war weariness, even at low and mid-level difficulties like Warlord and Prince. At Noble, they get a 30% cut. By deity, they have an 80% cut. Did you know that? No, you didn't, because the AI's level of war weariness has absolutely no impact on your game. Do not build this wonder, it is just a very expensive, fancy-looking monument. Number 3 on our list is the Manifold Harmonics from Alpha Centauri. How on earth do I even describe this one? If you've only ever played Civ, imagine that this wonder increases the yields from pollution. Pollution that produces barbarians. Yes, that sounds really dumb. I am being completely serious. Fungus in Alpha Centauri has a base yield of 0. There are many things you can do to increase those yields, most of them are buried very deep in the tech tree, but it just never assembles itself in a way where it becomes a viable build. Default rules for Alpha Centauri is that each tech you unlock is random, so going for a hyper-specialized build like this, especially one that needs wonders to work, is already pretty dicey. You have to jump through a lot of hoops, and then you just don't really get better yields than if you'd gone for the forest planting terraforming strategy. I mean, sure, I guess you'd save yourself from building the forest-boosting buildings, but those all give multipliers to your economy on top of everything it does for forests, so you'd want them whether or not you're planting forests. This secret project also increases yields from monuments. Usually you have a couple of these, but altogether the boost would be pretty minuscule if you're clearing fungus like a sensible human being. And many players won't have a planet score high enough to get any benefit from this at all. The one exception is that there is a landmark, kind of like a natural wonder, called the Ruins. This is just 8 monoliths. If you have this and your planet score is high, then this wonder becomes a modest boost. But the bottom line is that if you're pursuing a fungus-pilled, planet-maxing, non-competitive meme build, this is essential. For everybody else, this is absolutely useless garbage. But I think you can figure out which of these two types of people I am when I tell you that I love that this exists. Let's move on to number 2. Legend has it that Alexander the Great ventured deep into the desert of Libya. There, he spoke with the oracle at Siwa and asked them a pressing question.
What is the worst wonder in the history of civilization? I must know to protect my empire.
The oracle smiled, consulted the tea leaves, read the bones, and said 3 words. The Venetian Arsenal. Pretty shitty oracle, if you ask me. Must have been the oracle from Civ 3. I could spend hours talking shit about this wonder, because it has the same effect as it does in Civ 1 and 2. It doubles the effect from temples, only now, it is absolutely terrible. One reason right off the bat is that the temple on its own is now way worse. The cost has increased by 50% relative to older games, and the happiness given was cut down from 2 to 1. This was because Civ 3 introduced culture, so temples give culture now. It was famously undertuned, it doesn't really do much, but if you're wondering, no, the Oracle does not double the culture from temples. All it does is give 1 extra happy face if you jump through the hoop of building a C-tier building in whatever city needs it. This is an expensive wonder that you have to secure early on, too. You're giving up a lot of your expansion phase to get this, and it's giving you nothing. And it expires so quickly. In Civ 1 and 2, it's still not a great wonder, but at least it expires with dead-end techs that only give other happiness options. In Civ 3, it full-on expires 1/3 of the way through the tech tree, literally 2 techs into the second era. It does give tourism gold, but tourism was not introduced until the Conquest expansion, and there are cheaper, better, and easier to secure wonders that give that effect. This is truly an abomination. F tier. Oh. Sorry guys, that kind of scared me. Okay, for number 1, many of the items on this list do basically nothing. There is precisely one wonder in the game that does nothing in a literal sense. That is the Eiffel Tower from Civ 2. Now, on retail versions of the game, this legitimately has no effect. There's no culture, there's no great people points, no tourism, so I could really just end the video right here. Ask you what the most useless wonder is in Civ 7, remind you that if I hit 100k subs by Halloween of next year, I'll do a Gallic Swordsman cosplay, and say, take care. But honestly, talking about the Oracle from Civ 3 has me a little amped up, so I'm gonna ride this one out and tell you what the Eiffel Tower is supposed to do. Supposedly, this thing will fix your reputation. Other civs have a bad image of you. This will make you a brand new Shaka. And not the optional leader that you can choose that's a gender-swapped version of him. What the fuck, Civ 2? There's an issue with that. In Civ 2, Multiplayer Gold and Test of Time, there is a bug. The value for AI attitude towards the human player is uninitialized. That is to say, every single turn it will reset to the minimum, meaning they always fucking hate you, and your dusty, rusty little French tower ain't gonna do a thing about that. Even if you patch the game, the AI is aggressive as hell, and reputation means virtually nothing. They will still threaten you and declare war on you. This is the most useless wonder in the Civilization franchise. And that's saying something, there's some pretty awful stuff here. That's the list, I hope you guys enjoyed. What is the most useless wonder in Civ 7 and Civ Revolutions? And remember, if I hit 100k subscribers by Halloween of next year, I'll do a cosplay as the spy from Civ 2, the Gallic Swordsman from Civ 3. That's all for today. Take care.